What's up, my piano friends? Zach Evans here, and today I'm going to rant a little bit. I'm basically going to be responding to some comments on a video that I put up that's called, How Long Does It Actually Take to Learn Piano? Now, the reason I put up this video is when beginner pianists come into me and they're like, hey, I want to learn piano, this is like the number one question that they ask is like, how long is it going to take to get good? So I thought, I'm going to make a video about it. The reason I'm kind of angry at these comments is because before I recorded the video, I was like, okay, I know this is gonna be super controversial. I know everybody has an opinion on this. So I'm gonna make it very clear exactly what I mean by good at piano, exactly what I mean by how long does it take, and exactly the process that I'm talking about sending students through. So I literally said, okay, to get good at technique, you have to practice this many minutes a day, and if you're consistent for this amount of time, your technique will be good. And I defined what good meant. And I said, okay, good is if you play all 12 measure scales at this BPM on a metronome. So everything is super clear. And then I did the same thing. How long does it take to get good at playing by ear? How long does it take to be good at like learning songs and actually playing songs for people? And yet, even after detailing everything to the point that it was almost like stupid how in detail I was going on my definition of good, people are still leaving these comments that make no sense to me. So I just felt like I need to respond to some of these. All right, so the biggest comment that I'm getting on this video is people say it takes a lifetime to learn piano. And look, I think this is the most unhelpful answer you could tell somebody. And every time I hear it from somebody, it's always somebody that's just trying to sound smart and cool and like, how long does it take? Oh, it takes a lifetime. So they can sound very just like out there. And first of all, it makes no logical sense. Because then you're telling me that, okay, Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, the day before they died, are you saying they weren't even good at piano? Right? Let alone great, let alone masters. You're saying they weren't even good at piano the day before they died. It makes no sense. But even more than that, the reason I hate the answer is it actually hurts people. Because there's so many people that want to learn piano, and then somebody tells them something like this, and they're already kind of like, man, it's gonna take a long time. They're maybe scared to start, and then somebody it takes a lifetime to learn. I mean, this isn't helping anybody. This is the least useful answer that you could give. Instead, why don't you give an answer that actually makes sense, that actually requires a little bit of thought? All right, this one's Zeet Loop 30. He is talking as if he's commenting on a wrestling match or football game. Too hyper for me to listen. Yeah, that's, I just get excited about this piano stuff, so sometimes I probably do end up talking a little bit fast. All right, this next one from the Internet Explorer user. You're not good just because an average person says you're good at piano, because the average person doesn't know anything about music, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so basically in the video, I said, how do you define what is good on piano, right? Not what's great, not what's master level, but just what's good. And there's no obviously real answer. The word good is a relative term. You could take somebody who's never played piano before, and he might think a certain person is good at piano, and you take a classically trained pianist who's been playing for years, and they might look at the same person and say, no, that person sucks, like, you're not good yet. But for me, my job as a teacher is to communicate and understand the question that somebody's asking me. And when beginner piano players come in and they say, how long does it take to get good? 90% of the time, those beginner piano players, their definition of good is they just want to be able to play songs for their friends that sound cool, play songs for their family. And that is not the same as being a concert level pianist or something like that. So we have to define our definition of good somewhere. And I defined it as so an average Joe would hear you play piano. That's what the word good means. Now, obviously, that's not right or wrong. There is no such thing as good arbitrarily at piano. But we have to set a certain point so that I can say, hey, to get good at piano, here's how much you have to practice and here's how long it's going to take you. Otherwise, it's not a helpful answer to anybody. And what I mean by this is a lot of comments were like this. This was really useful to someone like me. I would like to learn to play piano well, but it feels like an overwhelming task to try and begin. Having you break it down makes me feel more attainable if I put in the time and effort. And this is what I'm talking about. It's not about being right and being wrong. It's how can this answer be useful and helpful? All right, this next one. Okay, I'm just gonna rant on this one for a second. Julius Philo, he said songs by there. Now, if you don't know, this guy is basically, there's these people out there, I call them classical snobs. Okay, and it's people who are kind of too cool for school. If you don't play Beethoven, if you don't play Mozart, by the way, I played all that stuff in college. You can look and my YouTube channel, I actually have recordings of me playing classical music. So I'm not bashing classical music. I'm bashing classical snobs who are too cool for school and don't understand just because somebody wants to play a pop song on piano, it's not a bad thing. It's not any worse or better than classical music. It's just a different taste and a different preference. Now, in classical music, there's a distinction between songs and pieces. And a song is something that's sung, right? So if it's like an opera, it'd be considered a song. If it's like a Justin Bieber song, it'd be considered a song. If it's a Beethoven piece, it's considered a piece of music and not a song. First of all, who cares, right? This is just a definition. If I told somebody, hey, could you play a Beethoven song? They would know exactly what I was talking about. Second of all, when's the last time you sat down at a piano and someone's walked up and say, hey, can you play a piece of music for me? Nobody says that. People walk up and they say, hey, can you play me a song? Like, I'm trying to use language that people understand and not language so I can look cool and smart for people, okay? All right, this next one, thanks a lot, but could you please stop adding music to the background, please? All right, this one's my fault. I admit it. Basically, for this video, I put some background music in there. And, I wanted to try something new. And I thought, okay, maybe people will be more engaged with the video if there's like background music. Maybe it would seem more pleasant to listen to. Apparently, it was very distracting. I got a couple comments saying, dude, turn off the music. So, all right, I get it. Next time, no more background music. All right, this one I'm going to rant about for a couple minutes. I won't read the whole thing. Sheena Ringo, this must be the most disingenuous video on YouTube. Blah, 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 blah. There's a good reason they are actual teachers and he is just some bloke on YouTube. All right, Sheena, what do you think I was doing before I was making these YouTube videos? Do you think I was like a trumpet player and then just went on YouTube and started making piano teaching videos? Does that make any sense to you whatsoever? No, I was a piano teacher before I started making these videos. And I taught hundreds of piano students before I went on YouTube and started teaching the same kind of stuff. So that makes no sense. Why would you not trust somebody just because they're on YouTube? Does that not make them a teacher? Makes no sense. Then basically goes on to say it's going to take even after 11 months, you're not going to be a good pianist. Look, I've had students that by 6 months were already good pianists by my definition of good pianist. And if you don't like my definition of good pianist, then your comment makes no sense anyway, because that's how I defined it in the video. You are ruining some people's lives here, Piano Superhuman. Their dreams, even their possible careers. That's just sad. Am I really ruining people's lives? I don't think so. Go get yourself a teacher. And here's I think where she's getting tripped up. And she says, in 11 years, I might actually buy a ticket to see you in a concert hall. Guess what, Sheena? Not everybody wants to play piano in a concert hall. Not everybody wants to get good enough at piano to play in a concert hall. Is it going to take more than 6 months of practice to get good enough to play at a concert hall? Of course. But what if you don't? What if you just want to play piano for your family and friends? What if you just want to play for yourself and just enjoy the process of learning? What if you want to play for your church or your worship team? Telling people and saying this kind of stuff, it makes people unmotivated to practice. You're not helping out anybody. This is the least practical comment that I've ever seen. It doesn't make sense. Now, this guy, on the other hand, great video. Thanks for the positive encouragement and practice plan. I'll modify it as follows and use it. And he has a plan. Can you look at this? 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. This is my point. Like, I want to be a practical piano teacher. I don't want to be the guy who sits in the clouds and is too cool for school and doesn't teach anything practical and just says stuff just to try to sound smart. I want to be the guy who's like, this works. Here's what you do. Here's the steps. I'm not some like piano professor guy. I'm just a dude who learned how to play piano, learned it faster than the average person, has taught a lot of people and like figured out what works and what doesn't. That's it. And if you have a plan and you follow it, it works. I've seen it time and time again. I've seen it with my students. I know how long it takes. It's going to take even a very talented individual at least a couple years to begin to display mastery of the instrument. Okay, Peter Rabbit with 2 T's. Did you watch the video? I never said master the piano. I said very specifically in the piano, become good at piano, and then I defined good. And then I said specifically after that, if you watch the video, that this does not mean you mastered the piano. I specifically said that in the video. So I don't get why people leave these comments. I don't know if they don't watch the video or if they're just want to disagree with it. Same with this guy, I am Pi 13. 10 minutes, that's nothing. You may as well not practice at all. Make a minimum of an hour and aim for every day, not 5 times a week. All right, first of all, I am Pi. If you watch the video and actually watch all the way through, the 10 minutes I said was just for the technique session. So I said, spend 10 minutes on scales and technique drills. You didn't include the parts on learning songs, playing by ear, and all the other parts. So apparently you didn't even watch the whole video. Second of all, a minimum hour a day, you absolutely don't need that much time. Of course, the more practice, the better. But look, there's a lot of people out there who don't have an hour a day, who might only have 30 minutes, 40 minutes. You can absolutely get really good at piano by consistently practicing 30 or 40 minutes a day, even 5 days a week. And the reason I don't say every day is because when you set those kind of expectations for people, look, life happens, okay? Like there's gonna be a day where you break your arm and you go to the hospital, or you're really sick, or your car breaks down and you're not gonna have time to practice. If you tell people practice every day, yeah, in theory land, that's a great advice. But if you tell people 5 days a week, I live in the reality, in the real world, where practical advice matters. And if you tell people 5 days a week, they're way more likely to actually stick with it and actually be consistent, and they'll get the results anyway. Okay, this one's kind of funny. I always knew playing the piano can make you buff. I was actually like 20 pounds heavier in this video. I was bulking. I was doing this weightlifting plan. And this one too. You have a thick neck. Jojo approves. Well, thank you, Jojo. I appreciate the compliment. All right, here we go. Here's another one. Viola Tion. First, you need a good teacher. Then you need to practice 3 hours per day for 3 years and you'll be formidable. No skipping days. All right, Viola Tion. So you're telling me that you practiced for 3 hours a day for 3 years and you never skipped a day. You're a liar. There's no way. Nobody has ever done that in the history of the world. You're lying. So why are you trying to give people this advice? This is that advice that's like, oh, in a perfect world, this would make sense, but you're not basing it in reality and grounding it in actual people's lives. It makes no sense. It depends will always be the answer because everybody has their own perspective of what they are doing. Some are fast learners, some are very slow. You have to understand that. Okay, I understand that point. I do agree some people tend to learn faster than other people, but my experience being a piano teacher is if the people that are practicing really do practice the same amount, right? If they're consistent and they practice 5 days a week and they're practicing the correct way, using the correct strategies and the correct techniques, it doesn't make a very big difference if you're a fast learner or slow learner. From my perspective, right, someone that's maybe like at a 6-month level, if they're a fast learner, maybe they'll be at like a 7th-month level, and a slow learner might be at like a 5-month level. But if the slow learner is doing everything right, it's not like he's like at a 1-month level where the fast learner is at like a 7-month level. There's not that big of a difference. And I think people think there's a big difference because the natural fast learners are simply the people who actually practice it consistently. And the people that are slow learners, when you actually like dig into it, you realize they're really not practicing that much. One thing that happens a lot is students will come in and they'll say, yeah, I practice 5 days a week, blah, blah, blah. But then I'll break it down and I'll ask them and I'll be like, okay, what time did you practice yesterday? And then oftentimes it'll be like, oh, well, yesterday, something came up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so you didn't practice yesterday. What about the day before? And it's, oh, the day before, I practiced half, but I didn't. So a lot of people don't actually practice as long as they say they practice or as many days a week as they say. And oftentimes these fast learners are simply just people who actually do the work. All right, this next one, Nelson Smith, sounds legit. Rather than being a naysayer, I think I'll give it a try first. Wouldn't that be awesome if everybody just did that instead of talking about something before they tried it, if they actually tried it? So I appreciate that, Nelson. All right, Jamie Lang. I learned to play by ear fine without drills. I started with songs I could actually hear in my head, simple children's songs usually. There's a lot of trial and error in the beginning. All right, so basically when I was explaining how long does it take to play by ear, I'm explaining that it helps a lot if you use drills and exercises. There's a very specific progression, and you'll see it in the video if you watch it, where you start with just 3 notes, and then you slowly and gradually, systematically add a note, note by note, until you can play the whole keyboard. And that's how I learned when I took college. I took a class called Oral Skills, and before I took Oral Skills, I was trying to learn it the way this guy's learning it, without drills, just kind of listening to the songs. And I was having a really tough time with it. And I believe you can learn, without drills and exercises. I just think it takes a lot longer and it causes a lot more frustration. And you might need some natural ability to do it. I'm not really convinced that you need natural ability, but I do think it's definitely going to take a longer time. And there's a systematic process already in place. So why not use what works instead of just the guess and check method? Oh, here's another one. 25 years if you have natural talent, start really young, have expert tuition, and work like a slave. Really, Mark? Really? You think it takes 25 years to get good at piano? I really hope you didn't practice for 25 years and still aren't good at piano, because if that's true, bro, you need to try something else, because it definitely does not take anywhere close to 25 years. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You are so handsome and cute. Kissy face. Well, I can't argue with that comment. I mean, I do my best. I do my best. I think it's mostly the hat, though, to be honest. All right, this next one is a little bit of a long one. Basically, this guy is summarizing and saying, talking about the 10,000 hour rule, which is a very famous kind of talent rule. It was popularized by a guy named Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote a book called Outliers. Now, if you actually read the book, which I did read the book, it was a phenomenal book. He basically says it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. And just like I defined becoming good, he defines mastering a skill as being in the top 1% of the world, right? So not like the top like 50% or anything like that, but the top 1%. And he says it takes about 10,000 hours. And that's true. If you want to master and become the LeBron James of piano, right? If you want to be Beethoven or Mozart or Lang Lang or one of these phenomenal piano players. But if you just want to get good, and I define good very specifically, that's why I kind of get angry at this comment. I define good very specifically. It does not take anywhere near 10,000 hours to become good at piano. You could get good in less than 6 months if you follow the plan that I outlined in the video. So, like, I get the point of the 10,000 hour rule, but remember, again, I feel like that dissuades people by knowing they're gonna have to practice 10,000 hours because they don't realize, oh, that's getting to master level and not just getting to like a good level. Joel Middock, I know you have heard this before, but you seem straight coked up. Well, Joel, I actually don't do any drugs. The only thing I'm coked up on is life and piano. So, yep, that's about all I got to say for that one. All right, now for my favorite comment on the entire thing. Zach, what you're saying makes a whole lot of sense. I'm actually impressed with your presentation. I can almost feel like you have a bioscience background. I appreciate that. I don't have a bioscience background, but I have done a ton of research on learning and how the brain learns and how we can speed that up. And he basically says, look, I've been playing piano for 16 years. I feel you, man. You're being clear and fair. And I really appreciate that because this is somebody who actually has been playing piano for 16 years. Not somebody that's just guessing, not somebody that's trying to sound smart or cool. This is a practical guy. He's like, look, I've played for this much time and this stuff works. If you follow the plan, it works. So I really appreciate that comment. All right, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope I didn't come across too angry and resentful, but I do feel like for some of these comments, I need to address them and kind of put them in their place and explain the concept of the video that I was going for originally and why what I'm saying makes sense. If you liked the video, feel free to hit that subscribe button and then hit the little bell to get notifications anytime I post a new video. And if you want to sign up, I do have a free piano course called Become a Piano Superhuman. Feel free to click the link above and then sign up for that. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace out and happy practicing.